Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Okay, so we met 2 weeks ago. Hopefully you all remember what we did 2 weeks ago. Yes, kind of, or a long time ago, right? So I'm happy that after this we'll have continuous sessions, so it'll be easier to remember. Let's do a little bit of a review. We're doing the text called Manah Shodhanam. The verses will be shown here. So the books has still not come, but the verses will be shown here so we can actually look at them and reflect on them. And how this text started, we covered verses 1 and 2 last time. So in verse 1, we saw Paramatma Advayananda, that we are actually the nature of bliss. We are looking for bliss, happiness outside, right? Every day we do so much just to get a little ounce of bliss, a little ounce of joy. We wake up so early, we take a shower, we eat, we go to work, or we take care of home, we do all of these errands, and all we want late at night is just to just put our feet up and relax. We just want those 10 minutes of peace. And all of us are chasing that. We're chasing that 10 minutes of peace where nobody's going to call us, nobody's going to look for us, nobody's checking for response from us, nothing is beeping, nothing is ringing. We want that kind of peace, right? So we do all of these things, but our scriptures say, you are already that. You are exactly what you're looking for. We don't have to go look outside. What we have to do now is turn within. And within us is the seat of bliss. That seat of bliss within us is called Atma. It's called the self. We might find comfort outside. There's no doubt about that. We'll find comfort in friends, in relationships. We'll find emotional support, with a partner, with family, with children. We'll find luxury, material wealth and comfort. We'll find that. We might find career, success in our career. We might find that, or financial success. That's all good. But if we're looking for peace and bliss, permanent peace, we're not going to find that outside. It's not there outside because we have looked and we haven't found it. It is here inside. So outside can offer us a variety of things, but not that permanent bliss. The impermanent will never bring what's permanent. So therefore, we are of the nature of bliss, but we don't realize it. And we don't realize it because of ignorance, number 1, and number 2, because of impurities of the mind. So for these 2 reasons, we don't realize it. So there it will say, Ajnana. Ajnana means ignorance, and manomala. Manomala means impurities of the mind. So even if we are that self, that same self in all beings, the nature of bliss, we don't grasp it, we don't get it because of ignorance and the impurities of the mind. Then in the second verse, what we saw was, if you move on to the second verse, that even this knowledge, right? This knowledge, when it arrived at, when the ignorance is dispelled. So when ignorance is dispelled by knowledge, the Supreme Self shines by itself, but it's a little bit of a challenge. Getting this knowledge, I gave you the example last time, I think, of the key, right? You're searching all over and you find that the key is in your pocket. Actually, the awakening, the realization is a moment, but the purity takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to get to purify our minds. And so that's what we're going to work on for this text. Because once the mind is ready, then the message can just come just like that, just really quick. We have a difficulty with purity because we're so used to being slaves of our minds. When our mind says, when our intellect or our higher self says, wake up early, enjoy the bright day, the mind is like, no way, I want to snooze it and I want to sleep in, you know. The intellect is like, stay healthy, eat healthy, and the mind's like, I just want pizza and fries right now, okay? So we have these constant battles with us, and that makes it difficult. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. It just means that it takes effort, and that's what we're here to do. So now we're starting from verse number 3. I'll chant it, and then you can repeat after me. Yavanmalanakshiyante manaso ragarupakaha tavanna tattva jignasa jayate manushe hridi. Yavanmalanakshiyante. We can say it together. Okay, 1, 2, 3 together. Yavanmalanakshiyante manaso ragarupakaha tavanna tattva jignasa jayate manushe hridi. So it says in this verse, Yavanmalanakshiyante, until the impurities don't decay, do not die away. And where are they? Manasaha ragarupakaha. They are the impurities of the mind. And they are ragarupakaha, means so they're of the nature of attachments. Tavat, so long, na tattva jignasa jayate, that desire to know the truth, that doesn't rise. Where? Manushe hridi, in one's own heart. So as long as the impurities of the mind, such as attachment, are not weakened or washed away, the desire for knowing the truth does not arise in the human heart. So some might feel like, yes, we're talking about this supreme self, this nature full of bliss, this Atma. But some might feel like, I don't have a desire for it. I don't want it. My kid's going to Bal Vihar, so I'm sitting here. But maybe I don't have that inside. What is it that makes us get this desire? Because this desire doesn't arise just like that. In our scriptures, it tells us that all the jivas go through 3 types of desires in their lives. First, we start with what we call vitteshana, means the desire for wealth. So after college, let's say, after college, everybody was looking for a career, a place to make money. We want to get our own apartments. We want to have some stability. We want to have our own home. And so after college, that drive for wealth is really high. And that's all we're thinking about. Which job, which career, which placement. All that we're thinking about is how do we acquire that stability. And these desires are not bad. These are desires that happen. Then after that, when one is financially stable, a new kind of desire props up. And that's the desire for a partner, for progeny, for family, the desire to meet someone. So now I think they do all like swipe right or something like that they do, and they go on this website and that website. But you know, there's the desire that I want to settle down, I want to meet someone, I want to have a family, and so the effort is put towards that. And after one now settles down, has a family and everything, then there's another desire that crops up. That desire is called lokeshana. So desire for progeny was putreshana. This one is lokeshana. This is now the desire for name, fame, recognition. That now I want to do something to feel recognized or appreciated. I want to make my mark in the world. So you see that in retirement age, what do people want to do? They want to put their names on a university or school or a hospital, or they want to donate money because they want some recognition, some acknowledgement that this is what their life was about. And so one goes through these three desires, and the thing is, they're so strong. They're so strong that sometimes they can capture our mind completely. But the idea is not to shy away from those desires. Our scriptures say, pursue those desires, pursue them, but while pursuing them, also pursue this desire for truth. Also attend satsang, also attend these places where the desire for truth can be cultivated, can be enriched, can bloom. Because the moment the worldly desires start to thin out, then the desire for truth really, it blooms really, really high. So until and unless these worldly desires kind of thin out, only that time will this desire for truth really arise in a seeker's heart. And as I said, not that, for if we have, what do we do if we have worldly desires? That's completely okay. But if the more pure and the more selfless we become in the worldly desires, then the easier it is for this desire for truth to come up. So if I have a desire for wealth, okay, fine, make lots of money, but also give back. Also use it to help others. I want to have a wonderful family, fine, but raise these children who also have that mentality or ability to give back to their community or their country. I have this desire for name, for fame, to get recognized, fine, but do something good with that. So as long as we sort of put selflessness in each of these desires, we become purer. And as long as we pursue seeking the truth within these desires, then the desire for truth slowly, slowly crops up. And that is the dawn of a seeker. Now, what happens when this desire comes? Or is there any other factor, right? So one, I said that the worldly desires go down, but is there any factor, any other factor of why these desires, this desire for truth in particular, why does it rise in a seeker? It's so funny because in Sandipani Sadhanalaya, where we studied Vedanta, there's an ashram, and we have a 2-year Vedanta course. Now the people who live near the ashram, they never enter the ashram. But yet we had someone from France who came, a French person who came to study. We had somebody from Russia, a Russian lady, she came to study. We had people from Eastern Europe who came to study. We had somebody from Belgium, she came to study. How is it that they came, and yet the people who are living right next to the ashram never even bothered to visit? What is that other factor? So let us see that now. That's in verse number 4. Kathanchit yadi jayeta Tatvecha purva karmataha Bodhopi jayate yadva Tannishthānaiva sambhave. We'll chant together. Kathanchit yadi jayeta tatvecha purva karmataha bodhopi jayate yadva Tannishthaneva sambhave. So here it says kathanchit. Somehow, kathanchit, yadi jayeta. If this rises, what were to arise? Tatvecha, that desire for truth. How? Purva karmataha, because of our past karma. Bodhopi jayate yadva. And even knowledge takes place. But what happens? Tannishthaneva sambhavet. But that abidance doesn't happen. So, if somehow this desire for truth arises due to past karmas, even though the understanding takes place, firm abidance in the Supreme Self doesn't happen. So the other factor, right, is our karma. That's why we don't force anybody in the spiritual path. Because if we force people, they'll run away. All we do, or all we need to do rather, is inspire them. When we inspire them, then slowly they come. And inspiration doesn't mean preaching to them, because sometimes they get also turned off, right? Inspiration means that we have to work on the way we live. And when we become better, when we grow, then they also see that and they become inspired to also walk the path. So this comes to everybody at the right time. Some people say, I wish when I was younger I learned this knowledge. Or some people say, I wish a few years ago I got this, but why is it only coming now? Or some might say, I've heard this so many times before, but it didn't hit me and now only it's hitting me. It's because our impurities have sort of settled down, so things are starting to make sense. Now the idea here is that we are in such a blessed time, all of us, because we say in our prayers, we say Shanti 3 times. Right? The idea is the first Shanti is Adhidevik. The Devic forces are at peace. Then the second Shanti is Adhibhautik. The Bhautika forces or the forces around us are at peace. And Adhyatmik, the forces that are within us are at peace. To have these 3 Shantis is not easy. We have it here. We're lucky we have it here. But to have it elsewhere is a little bit hard. For all the divine forces to just be at peace for some time. For the people around us to be quiet and not disturb for some time. And even for us, within us, to be at peace. And not, disturbed by anything, not distracted by anything. Even that is really rare. So we have these 3 things going for us in this particular environment. And not only that, but many people who are going through such difficulty in life, maybe a financial hardship or something like that, it's difficult for them to pursue the path of truth. People are going through health situations, something to do with their health, difficult for them to pursue. Some people have no food, no shelter, no place to go. And when people are in that condition, it's very difficult to study this kind of knowledge. Because at that level, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At that level, people just need food and shelter and clothing. So we are so fortunate because we have that. And Adi Shankaracharya ji says in this text called Viveka Chudamani, Durlabham trayame vaitat deva nugraha hetukam. He says these three things are extremely rare, and they come because of past karma, and they come because of God's grace. What are they? Manushyatvam, a human birth. Mumukshutvam, that desire for liberation. And Mahapurusha Samshrayaha, means refuge at the feet of great masters. So we have one. We have human birth. We have some kind of desire for truth, some kind, right? When we think of, don't think of just Atma, understand that Atma is that very bliss. It's that very self. We have that desire for bliss. We have that desire for, permanent bliss. And also we have and are connected to a great lineage of masters. We are so fortunate in Sanatana Dharma. We have so many great teachers and great masters who we all learn from. So having that, if we don't pursue the truth, then the purpose of life, the very purpose for which we came, is not realized. We would have lost it. The purpose of life, this birth, is not to make money. It's not to get a great career. It's not even relationships or relatives. One of Guruji says they are called relatives because they are relative. Huh? So it's not even relationships or relatives. It's not even social work and social justice. Everything that I said is an important part. But the real purpose is to awaken to our true self. So having all of this, if we fail to get it, then what a waste our life would be. So sometime, at some point, if the desire becomes strong, what happens is we put effort. Because whenever desire is strong, it comes with effort. If we're not putting effort, that means we don't want to go. Someone invites us to a party and we're like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And we don't even dress up or get up, nothing, we just sit there. We don't want to go. But if we want to go to that party, already 1 hour before we're ready, isn't it? The kids are like that also. When they don't want to go, there's no effort there. We'll have to drag them out. But if they want to go somewhere, they'll be ready before you, correct? So when there's a strong desire, it's accompanied by effort. And some might feel like, but this desire for truth, it's not so easy. It's true, it's not that easy. But remember, when we want something so bad, we do whatever we can to get it. We have seen this. We do whatever we can to get it. So those for whom the desire rises, the desire is nourished, the desire is kindled, the desire grows because of past karma, because the impurities have come down, because of God's grace, knowledge dawns. But abidance doesn't dawn. Bodho api jayate. That knowledge dawns, but tannishtha neva sambhavet. That abidance doesn't come. So, on the spiritual path, and like every other path, there's a difference between knowing and living. And don't think this is automatic. Don't think that I know, now it will automatically happen. The only automatic thing that happens in our life is old age. That's automatic. We don't have to do anything, we just become old. Everything else, we have to put forth effort. So many times we know we have to wake up earlier. We know we have to eat healthier. We know we have to slow down, but when it comes to living, we fail. So we know, but we cannot live. So nobody needs to know, means we don't need more advice on what to do and how to live our lives. What we need is to actually live that life, correct? Right? Because we've heard enough podcasts, seen enough videos, we've done all of that. But what we actually need to do is start living that life. How can we manifest knowing into living? This manifestation of knowing to living is called nishtha, abidance. So how do we do that? And first of all, let's explore why that problem is there. That problem is there because knowledge takes place at a conscious level. So when we read something, when we hear something, it takes place at a conscious level. But in our subconscious level, there are habits. There are habits there in the subconscious level. So even if we know, it's like our habits override because they're an autopilot. So all of a sudden, let us say at 5 o'clock in the morning, we get up. It's autopilot. Or at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're hungry. It's autopilot. It just happens because it's a vasana. It's a past tendency. It's a habit. So when we have such habits, it's very difficult because they're in the subconscious level. But the knowledge is happening where? In the conscious level. So even if I know and I'm absorbing everything, it's hard to live because I've already had so many habits ingrained in me. So let us say there's no issue with positive habits, right? So we're not talking about positive habits. If one has positive habits, no issue with that. We're talking about negative habits. Somebody asked, how do you know if something is a positive habit or a negative habit? If something takes me towards truth, towards the self, it's a positive habit. Something takes me away from truth, away from the self, it's a negative habit. So here we're working with our negative habits that seem to just happen. It could be anger, it could be procrastination, it could be laziness, it could be, eating junk food, it could be binge watching. Whatever it is, these are there and they're being cultivated. And so one way, the best is when we are watchful, when we are mindful of our habits, we can nip them right at the bud. So for example, if we see an unwanted habit starting to form, like let us say drinking 3 cups of coffee instead of 1, let us say it was a crazy time at work, and so I had 3 cups of coffee 3 days in a row. Now be careful, that habit is forming. So don't think on the 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, we should also have 3 cups of coffee each day. So stop it right there because we see it's forming. I went on a vacation. Okay, everybody goes on vacation. And in that vacation, we all went out, we slept late, and we wake up late, right? So we woke up at like 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and we had breakfast in bed. Now, please don't think that that can continue, right? So we have to see, are these habits forming? And when they're forming, stop them right away. Stop them right away. This is for habits that are yet to come. But what about for the habits that are already there? Because that's where we have to work. So to get this nishtha or abidance, we have to look at 5 different levels. Okay? For example, we have a problem of waking up early. First level is prick. A prick means go to places where it's going to prick our negative habit. So join a walking club. I know I have a hard time. I know I have a hard time waking up early, join a walking club. Join a class. Join a meditation session at 5 o'clock in the morning. Whatever our weakness is, commit to doing something to overcome that. And come to places where constantly our negative habits are being pricked, like satsang, right? We have time to analyze and think about all these things. So first is really put ourselves in a place where these negative habits are going to be poked and pricked. The next is practice. Keep working at it, because the deeper the negative habit is, the deeper the work we have to do. It's not that if it, people say it takes so much effort, Well, because the habit is so deep. If the habit is so incredibly deep, remember, it will take that much effort. So somebody who's had a habit of rushing for 5, 6, 7 years, to teach them to slow down, it's going to take time. And that's okay. We have to keep working at it. So the second level is practice. And when we practice working on ourselves, the idea is sometimes we will succeed, sometimes we will fail. So we will succeed sometimes, we will fail sometimes, but we have to keep going. And if we feel like, oh, we don't have any negative habits, ask your spouse, they will tell you. Right? Or ask your children, they will tell you. So there's a long list. All of us have to work on something, don't worry, right? All of us have something. So the idea is we keep practicing, and at some point we will make progress. So the first level is a prick, go to a place where that pricks you. Second, practice. Third is progress. What happens as we make progress is that we succeed more times than we fail. So let us say we succeeded sleeping early. We succeeded 4 times, 5 times a week, but on the 6th night, we failed. That's okay. That's completely okay, because nobody becomes enlightened overnight. Nobody realizes the truth overnight. It's a journey. It's a journey, and all journeys begin with one step. So slowly keep trying. And if we feel ourselves slipping, catch ourselves right away. Don't wait till we completely slip. Sometimes what happens is we wake up and we say, oh, it's a grouchy day, it's raining outside. And then we go make breakfast and we burnt our breakfast. Oh, I told you it's a bad day. And then we go and then the subway's delayed. Oh, I told you it's a bad day. Well, we can carry that whole bad day. Why do we do that, right? If we know we're slipping, stop. Just catch ourselves for a moment and pause. Just pause and say, okay, let me think for a moment. What do I need to do to get back up? So if we see ourselves going down and down, stop. Stop, because once we go down very, very low, it's very hard to come back up. At least if we slip 2 steps, we can go up easily. 4 steps, we can go up easily. If we slip all the way down, it's very hard. So when we progress in life, slowly catch ourselves. At some point, we reach the 4th stage where goodness becomes very natural to us. It's natural to be kind. It's natural to smile. Natural to be healthy. Natural to be consistent, to be regular. Natural to be honest. Natural to be generous. It just becomes our nature. That's because we put effort. So now it is effortless. So sometimes we wonder, how people so effortlessly, they're just so joyous and cheerful. Remember, what precedes effortlessness is a lot of effort. So at the 4th stage, it becomes quite natural. And then the 5th, stage is just a matter of surrender. Now one surrenders themselves to the divine, and lets themselves be an instrument and the vehicle for the divine will to flow. This is what we call like a saint or a sage. As long as we have this ego identity and we feel like, yes, I can do, yes, I can move, yes, I can go, that's very wonderful when we're raising ourselves up. But after it becomes natural, the idea is it's like we become fit instruments, and that divinity functions through these people, these great saints and sages. That's why if we look at their lives, they're able to accomplish so much, touch so many lives, be with so many people. It's because of their purity. So even if we know, even if we get knowledge, whether of the world or whether of Vedanta, that abidance doesn't come right away. That's where we have to work. In terms of Vedanta, what does abidance mean? So the knowledge, so this is, I was talking about worldly knowledge. Now I'm talking about Vedantic knowledge. In terms of Vedanta, the knowledge that we're arriving at is I am the pure self. I am the pure self that's beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, beyond the ego, and I am ever untouched. And I am that self that is in everyone. And the whole world is nothing but an appearance in me. That's the knowledge that we're trying to arrive at in Vedanta. And the abidance in that knowledge is a continuous manifestation of the knowledge in everyone's daily life. So what we're aiming for here is a subtle transformation. It's a gateway for us to become better. Oftentimes now they say, become the best version of yourself, right? Become the best version of yourself. This is exactly the same thing. It's lifting ourselves to great heights. And that's called nishtha, or abidance. Now one will say that, oh, but I don't want this nishtha. I don't want this abidance. You know, somebody might want this abidance, but I don't want this abidance. Why should I even get this abidance? Well, the answer will come that without this abidance, we won't be able to experience that supreme bliss called Jivan Mukti. More of that we will take up next week. I have to leave you on a cliffhanger so that you come back next week. But now what I'll do is I will summarize some points, and I would also like to hear if you have any questions from your side. So today we covered really verses 3 and 4. And the idea is that some people might say, I don't have this desire for truth, for liberation, for this supreme bliss, for happiness. I don't have this desire. I have the desire for money. I have the desire for, fame, name. Actually, all the desires are nothing but the desire for bliss. We want money. Why? So we can be comfortable. Why? So we can be at peace. Why? So we can feel bliss, right? So even the desire for money is a desire for bliss. We want lots of name and fame. I want that name and fame. Why? So that we're recognized. Why? So that we feel good. Why? So that we'll be peaceful. Why? So that we'll feel that bliss. So even if we really say that, look, I don't want any of this, whatever's going on here, actually we do want it. Because whatever we want is nothing but that. Whatever we want in the world outside is nothing but bliss. There was once a person on a boat. He was sitting there, and somebody came to see him and said, oh, can I ride on your boat? And the boatman said, sure, ride on the boat. So that person said, what do you do? He said, well, I'm a boatman. So what do you do a whole day? well, I just row my boat back from one part of the shore to the other, and one part of the shore to the other, and I keep rowing back and forth as and when people come and as and when they need. And what is your life like? Oh, it's very simple. I have a simple house, I have a simple family, and I'm very much at peace. And so this person said, well, why don't you make a business, Why don't you get a couple more boats? And so the boatman said, well, what will I do with that? He said, then you'll make a lot of money, and then many people will come, and they'll be able to go from one shore to the other, and then you'll be able to travel the world. And the boatman said, okay, then what? He said, then when you're tired, you can retire. And the boatman said, what will I do when I retire? And you can sit and row your boat. Well, the boatman said, well, why don't I just do that now? I'm sitting and rowing my boat, right? So this is the idea. This is the idea that all of those desires are nothing but the desire for this bliss. And this desire grows and grows when our impurities come down by our karma and also by the grace of God. And we are so blessed to have this environment, this platform for us to really grow, for us to really harness this desire. So the idea is not to waste that. And if this desire is fulfilled, if knowledge is gained, if we come to know, then the challenge is abidance. We're able to know but not to live. And this is because of our vasanas or habits. And how to work on them? Number one, avoid them. Be very vigilant and see if habits are forming. And number two, those 5 steps which I said to you, that first the prick, then practice, then progress, then what happens, it becomes natural, and then we surrender. So this is the pathway for the seeker. Okay. Anybody has any questions? I think there's another mic. If you have a question, please raise your hand. It's completely okay. And if you have no...
Maybe I can start with a question.
Sure.
So when you talked about that 5-step process, is that... I mean, we all have so many habits, bad habits that we want to get over, like whether it's drinking coffee 3 times a day or, sleeping in. How do we know which, what's going to be a fruitful pursuit and what's not? So like, what if you apply that framework to something that's taking you nowhere?
Sure. See, we have to work on our subtle habits first. If somebody has an anger problem and drinks a lot of coffee, solve the anger problem. So the idea is we might have so many negative habits. Start with the ones that are subtler and the ones that really affect so many people. So whether it's anger, or sometimes we have a procrastination problem, or sometimes we have a messy problem, whatever it is that's subtle, that affects so many people around us, that's what we need to work on first. Yes?
It seems like for most of us, we have to exhaust our vasanas and our desires, and that whole 3 steps that you were talking about wealth, and then family, and then fame. So it seems like if you don't go through all of that, at the end of your life, there's a feeling of regret or inadequacy. However, like if you do all of that, it seems easier then to say, okay, now I'm ready to know about the truth. So why is it that you have to exhaust your vasanas in order to get there? And sometimes people never even get there.
Because the conviction is stronger when the vasanas are exhausted. See, one thing is, I don't want wealth. But a stronger conviction is, I have wealth, or I've had wealth, and I don't see or I don't find what I'm looking for there, therefore I'm not going to look there anymore. Second one is stronger. First one is I don't want wealth. Huh? So when somebody just says I don't want wealth, I'm not interested, there's still a little bit chance that they might get lost in it. But when somebody has gone through it, has earned money and said, you know what, whatever I'm looking for, it's not there, I'm done. Huh? Not that they don't go work, it's just that they're not seeking for that happiness there. That's a stronger conviction. So it's a much stronger conviction if we go through those desires. Very few are great Mahatmas, because of their purva karma, they'll say, okay, I don't want to go through those desires, right? Because of their past life. Most of us have to go through them in some form of the other to feel that conviction, to search for the truth. So it is better to go through it. Yeah? Yes?
So, I mean, thinking about it from a real life perspective, you have relationships, right? It's not family, maybe friends, maybe work. Let's say there is a conflict of, there is a habit that forms within us because of the habit that exists within somebody else, where you have to like interact. Say, so for example, let's say it's a combination of procrastination and anger. How do, for example, let's say I get angry. So then how do I work on my anger, knowing that whoever the other person is will procrastinate? Or because I can't control them.
Yeah.
I can only control myself.
Correct. So we have to work on our anger and let the person do what they do. Our response has to change. See, the response to procrastination is sometimes we just have to let them go. Let them do and not interfere. Especially if it's a child, sometimes we have to see that child also fall. So that response will make them procrastinate more. Right? Yeah, okay.
So just one follow-up question on the question on vasana. Does it necessarily mean that we have to wait till we fulfill all our vasanas to actually start the path towards anything higher, or it can be done simultaneously?
Simultaneously. We don't have to wait for all our vasanas to be exhausted. That's why I said simultaneously. Yeah, I might have desires for the world. It's okay. Simultaneously pursue this path. Pursue this path.
Let's say that you are pursuing that path, and you, and sort of related to your question where someone else is going through something and you suddenly have the realization you can control yourself, but let the other person still do. But sometimes there's like this ethical problem of, do I help the person out or not? And that would cause a lot of, I think, challenges to yourself. That like, am I not doing my duty? Or
Yeah. So the question is, sometimes we're trying to control ourselves, but sometimes the other person's going through something, and do we help that other person or not? That's a case-by-case basis. We have to see where that person is. So I'll give you an example of a child. Example of a child, when they're very young, in our Shastras it says, till they're about 5, we have to just love them. Just love them and pamper them. That's all they need. But from 6 to about 15, that's discipline, where we have to discipline them. But from 16 and up, we have to be like their friends and let them go. So it depends on the situation. If it's a child, then that's the approach. But let's say if somebody has a medical issue, or if somebody has a emotional issue, then that we'll have to see case by case. Are they able to handle it themselves? And if they are, then there's no need for us to interfere. So we have to be very careful about where we interfere and where we don't. If we're not required to interfere, we don't need to interfere. Sometimes it's our attachment that makes us interfere. So we have to watch that. the kids, the teens, they have their own journey. Once they're 16, they have their own journey. There's nothing much we can do after that age. There's really nothing much we can do. Okay. Sure.
I really appreciate what you were just saying, and I belong in a workplace like I imagine many New Yorkers belong to, where like the messaging around ego is so strong, like bring in this much money, or here are these like leadership classes, and it's all about like putting my ego first. What techniques or advice do you have now that like I'm paying attention to this and I can hear me? Like in those kinds of environments where the messaging seems to be so strong, only towards like the pursuit of money or the pursuit of fame and fame, that we can adopt in our day-to-day life, like in those kinds of situations.
Sure. So when the pursuit of money or fame is so strong in those situations, right? A great pursuit is what is going to work for the welfare of all. So not necessarily money, fame, but let's think about this and how will it benefit the most people around? Let's take that approach. That's a much healthier approach to take. Yeah. Okay, we'll stop here. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om